All right. Good evening and welcome to the March 28th meeting of the MCCSC Board of School Trustees. We ask that everybody please come to order. This is the time that we set aside to celebrate members of our school community, and Dr. Winston will share that with us this evening.
Thank you, President Schur, Dr. Oswald, Board of Trustees, and community members. It is my pleasure to share a few highlights of this month's celebration of success and our monthly Equity Spotlight Award winners. Congratulations to Andrew McKenzie, PE teacher at Fairview Elementary School, on receiving the City of Bloomington Commission on the Status of Black Males 2023 Outstanding Black Leader of Tomorrow Award. Some of Mr. McKenzie's contributions are through the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, the YMCA, assisting local families with access to food and other resources, and many things beyond that. We applaud Mr. McKenzie's dedication to building relationships with his students and community members. Our Equity Spotlight Award winner and recipient for March 2023 include the volunteers of the STEM to Them Mobile Lab. The STEM to Them Mobile Lab travels to each and every MCCSC elementary school to deliver innovative STEM and STEAM curriculum to students in grades pre-K through 6th grade. Volunteers assist the mobile lab educator, Beth Smith, by setting up the mats, charging bots, working with students, and any other activities that are necessary to make the program run smoothly. These volunteers include family members, parents, and students from Indiana University. We're so appreciative in acknowledging these award winners.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the board, thank you, Dr. Winston, and congratulations to all those that have been recognized tonight. At the January 24th meeting, the Board of School Trustees resolved to commence the process of board district modification. Input from the board and community members will be used to establish the criteria to guide the development of revisiting the geographical areas for seven school board districts. Encourage community members to complete a survey regarding the board district realignment that is on the MCCSC website. The survey will remain open until Monday, April 2nd, or April 10th, I'm sorry. Are there any comments?
No comment.
Okay. We will now receive public comments, or I'm sorry. Let me just see here, I'm gonna move down. Okay, so now this is the time for board members to share publicly their thoughts and any priorities on the realignments that they have. Would anyone like to start by sharing their thoughts on this?
I will just say that I'm glad that we're starting this process because I was on the board very early in my tenure on the board when the community came to us and were really asking for this redistricting to make the balance of population more even. So, and it's been a really long time and it's up to us to do that kind of drawing. So I'm glad that we're starting it.
Any other thoughts on priorities from the board as we move forward with this process? Does anyone? I look forward to hearing again from the community. So if there's anybody in the audience today or anybody listening or watching online, encourage you to fill that out on the MCCSC website. And I think I can speak for the board by saying that we will excited to hear your input as well as we develop a process as we move forward to realign those districts. So thank you to the board and thank you for all those that have filled that out already. So now we'll proceed to public comments and agenda item 2.02. As a reminder, Ms. Butcher will ring the bell once to signal you have 30 seconds remaining for your comment and 5 bells to signal your time has concluded. Just a reminder that we can't speak on personnel issues per the guidelines that you acknowledged when you completed the card. First, we have Riva, and then after that, Sam. So Riva, yeah, you can go ahead and go first, and then after that will be Sam.
If you can hear me, can you? I'm Riva Doliana, and although I live in Brown County, I'm from Bloomington. I'm a proud 1962 Panther, and so I'll get the funny part over. And I have a grandson who teaches at Jackson Creek. I have little great grandchildren that go to Rogers Elementary. I think this is a wonderful school system here. You know, this is about school safety, and we all know what happened yesterday. We hear about these horrible things all the time, and we could discuss all kinds of things. My main thing right now is it was in December. I went to my little great-grandson Quinn's kindergarten school. And they made these little gingerbread houses. And so when it was over and everybody was friendly and wonderful, I thought, wonder why I'm not going out the front door. But I went down the hallway and past the kindergarten and everything, and I go out this side door. I thought, well, wonder that what this sign says. It must say you can't come back in. No, it was about stop, if you have COVID symptoms or something like that. I went back in to see if I could get back in, and I could. That upset me. I should have said something before. I mean, I can use the excuse that I'm going to have a hip replacement. No, I don't have an excuse. So I called yesterday. Wonderful people helped me, including Karen. And so I thought, well, I'm going to come here and speak up. And like I said, we can talk about all kind of things, but I really think that we have to, people say, oh, well, wait a minute, money for a school resource officer at each school or metal detectors. We don't have money for that. I don't know. But something's got to be done. And to me, we know this keeps happening because there are people that have mental illness and other problems. We don't know it all. But anyway, I want to address this because I think things have to change. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Sam Clark, I believe, and then after that, Chad. Landrum.
Hey there. Hope you don't mind if I use my notes.
No, go ahead.
I appreciate you letting me speak up here today. I am Sam Clark. I'm a non-binary sophomore from Bloomington High School North. And I am here to talk about a recent situation that occurred at North where a student put a litter box in a teacher's classroom and made posters saying that animal identifying students could use it. It's my understanding that this was a premeditated and teacher-approved student experiment to see how false information spreads on social media, although I haven't seen the description or methodology or results of it, and I really would like to. So for those who don't know, and this is from the Human Rights Campaign website, at least 20 extremist candidates and elected officials have claimed that schools are making litter boxes available for students who identify as cats. And this is a bizarre lie. It's meant to call into question school policies related to transgender non-binary youth. Not only did this situation continue to spread misinformation about the existence of litter boxes in schools at a time when LGBTQ+ students are being attacked in the state government, but as a direct result, transgender students at my school were harassed, meowed at, barked at, and more. The transgender population has high rates of suicidal thoughts and self-harm. Events like this can directly result in triggering these things. The school and MCCSC are extremely lucky that, as far as we know, nobody acted on any of these thoughts or feelings of self-harm. It was deeply disturbing to see this situation occurring at my school in any form. And it was disturbing to see the spread of this false information backed by a teacher without any thought of what the aftermath could possibly be. But it happened, and the aftermath is what we need to be concerned about now. It should be a basic expectation that teachers are at school to participate in the education and safety of their students. To have a teacher actively participate in this experiment and say that they did not know what the consequences would be shows an incomplete lack of understanding and training.
Sam, we
Mhm.
can't discuss
We can't?
particular instance related to a teacher, so thank you.
Okay.
You can skip through that part. Thank you.
I'm speaking on behalf of myself and others who are not able to. I know people who are harassed. I know people who had harmful thoughts, and I want to make it clear to everyone here that whatever action is taken or not taken about this situation will have a deep impact on the trans community. I strongly encourage that any action you take will be in support of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. And I hope that you can stay for the whole meeting. Just
That's the part we were going to add, Sam. We have a resolution tonight to talk about some of the actions we like to do related to supporting the LGBTQI+ community, but we can't discuss specific actions related to personnel. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have to protect
Thank
the
you.
due process rights for employees as well. There's no offense intended related to your passion and your request, okay? Thank you.
Thank you very
Sam.
much. Next, we have Chad Lundrum, and then after that, Brandy Rails.
Dear members of the board, my name is Chad Landrum, and I am a teacher here at MCCSC, but I'm not here today to speak as a teacher. I'm here to speak as a member of the LGBTQIA plus community. Last week's headline in the Herald Times about the social experiment involving litter boxes at North outraged me. My first thought was here. How? Why? And then my mind went to the LGBTQIA plus students. Don't they have enough to deal with already? I know I did when I was their age, and I did not have state lawmakers trying to legislate away my rights. Reading the article further, it seems that this is being taken seriously, so I'm not here to complain about that. In fact, I'm here to commend the administration for what appears to be a swift and serious response. I would expect no less. The fact of the matter is, the myth of the litter box in schools has been used 2 decades now as a transphobic dog whistle. These imaginary stories about schools being too inclusive or too supportive have been used to stir up ire towards and fear of the trans community. It saddens me to see it coming to Bloomington, but I'm glad that action was taken and that we're moving forward, hopefully towards healing, which brings me to the resolution today. In the wake of what happened, I think it's appropriate and necessary to remind the community what public education stands for, and I appreciate the acknowledgement in that statement of what the LGBTQIA community experiences and your stances against the laws that would make our lives harder. But I want to pause and think about what happens next. What is being done for the children who've been harmed by this? Are they being offered schedule changes, counseling, appointments, anything? And how far does this recommitment go? It's hunky-dory to state your support and create new policies, but what happens when the State House makes it illegal to use students' preferred pronouns or preferred names? Will you protect teachers from prosecution? Will you force them to use students' dead names? I think this recommitment is a place to start, but you have to be willing to go further. I don't know what your powers as a school board are, but I hope that you will be able to use them to stand up to unjust laws that try to legislate my community out of existence. In 2004, the mayor of San Francisco, Gavin Newsom, began issuing marriage licenses to gay couples and lesbian couples until his office had to defend them all the way to the Supreme Court of California. They were ultimately annulled and not reinstated until Obergefell v. Hodges, but they stood up and fought all the way to the Supreme Court. And he was the mayor of San Francisco. But there's so many countless figures in history who have fought against unjust laws in the name of civil rights, and they faced police brutality in jail. And I hope it doesn't come to that, but I hope that your commitment to serving and protecting the LGBTQIA plus community, students and staff will stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Brandy, and then after that, Paul Farmer.
I'll start by saying, Sam, I'm very proud of you as a school nurse for standing up for yourself. Now I'm gonna cry. Hi, I'm here to talk about something fun. Hi, my name is Brandy Rails. I am a travel registered nurse with MCCSC. My home base is Bloomington South Panthers. I'm here tonight to tell everybody about an exciting event coming up. Bloomington High School South will be hosting Healthapalooza on Thursday, April 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. We are excited to bring back this comprehensive event, which is designed to be more than just a health fair. It's featuring booths, exhibits, and speakers from around the community, aiming to connect students and families with services and resources to improve health and literacy. I also don't like to speak in public, sorry. There will be a number of exhibitors, including but not limited to, Catalent will be giving away health-related books for kids of all ages. The Monroe County Fire Department will have a truck crew and the Get Out Alive Smokehouse. Overdose Lifeline will be giving away free Narcan kits. Moms Demand Action will have free gun locks available. IU Health Community Health is even giving away free bicycle helmets to kids. The last time we hosted this event prior to COVID at Templeton Elementary, we gave away over 100 free bike helmets. Free HIV and hepatitis C testing, blood pressure screenings, HPV vaccines, and first aid kits will also be available. There will be interactive booths and activities for kids. I don't have enough time tonight to talk about all the exhibitors and opportunities, but they are quite impressive. There will also be door prizes. To top it all off, the MCCSC Foods Services Department is catering dinner for free for the first 300 attendees, thanks to a very generous sponsorship from Catalent. At MCCSC, we care deeply about the well-being of our students and their families, and we want to do everything we can to help them be informed and educated about health. Studies show that when children are healthy, they are more likely to meet their academic goals. I look forward to seeing so many of you and of our community members there. Lastly, I would like to thank Lisa Greathouse, the manager of MCCSC Coordinated Health, and her interns for their help with planning the event, as well as Mary Jane McNabb, the social worker at BHSS, and the administrators at BHSS, particularly Mark Fletcher and Kate Ratliff, and also for Dr. Finley's support of me in this endeavor and health services in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Paul Farmer.
Thank you, President Scheer, Dr. Oswald, and board. Again, I'm up here fighting for public education. We all know all the horrible, horrible things that are occurring at the State House. And, you know, again, I've said this before, you think it can't get worse, it's getting worse. Especially, I know Dr. Oswald and I have spent the last several days putting together a collaborative letter to the state. We've sent it to our representatives and the other people at the State House about the state budget as well as discussion rights. But big thing here is talking to our community. You know, if we don't stand up, they're going to take it away from you, and they're going to take public education away from us. You know, and you know, I've been saying that, we've all been saying this for years, but it is getting worse. The HB 1001, I just flat out is terrible, beyond terrible. Everything from potentially over $100 million new monies going to charters and vouchers. That's over a percent increase that it is for them. That's not important. What it is it's huge versus what they're giving to public education is averaging up to be potentially 5% over 2 years. That's absurd, absolutely absurd. And one of the things that I'm here to do, because I want to introduce it because it has just come out recently. In fact, I just got a text on my phone. ISTA, we're putting on a Pack the House rally on April 13th. And we are encouraging everyone to go. I'd love to have all the board members go, all the administrators go, all the teachers, all of our bus drivers, all the custodians, all our educators, everyone. Now, I know this is on a Thursday. I get it. But we have got to do something. We cannot let this go. This budget is beyond terrible. You know, oh, well, we're supporting textbooks and so on. Well, yeah, that's a good thing, but they're making us do it. Out of the money that they're giving us, that 5%, we have to pay for that. Not the state. That's not new money. They want us to do it. There's hundreds of things in there that are terrible. So, you know, I'm setting a challenge to everybody. Get there. Go. Hopefully, we'll carpool. We'll do whatever we have to do to get people there. But we have to get, the budget's already passed out of the House. It's in the Senate. We've got, about 30 days left. On April 29th is when it's supposed to be over. So first of all, thank you, Dr. Oswald, for working together with us, putting that letter together for our legislatures. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We'd like to thank everyone for their comments tonight, and thanks for all those that came out. Appreciate it. Now we'll move on to our consideration is the consent agenda that includes the following. Memorandum from the executive session held on February 27th, 2023. Minutes from the board meeting held on February 28th, 2023. ECA expenditures, overnight and out-of-state field trips, financial report, February 2023. Appropriation balance report, February 2023. Register of claims, March 28th, 2023. Payroll register and payroll claims, February 2023. Request to declare a surplus and authorize disposal of out-of-date items. Do I have a motion regarding the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by April that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Against no. Any abstention? The motion has carried. Next for our consideration are the donations. We have received donations of over $2,000. We'd like to thank all of those that gave and the generosity of all of our donors. Do I have a motion to accept the donations?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. It's been moved by Kathy and seconded by Ross that we accept the donations as presented. All those in favor of the motion to approve the donations, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Against no. Any abstentions? Motion is carried. Next for our consideration is the recommendation to adopt Resolution 2023-07, recommitment to serving LGBTQIA+ students. Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-07 as presented? Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Kathy and seconded by Aaron that we adopt Resolution 2023-07 as presented. At this time, I have asked Vice President Hennessy to read the heading and the preamble section and Board Member Parani to read the operative section.
This resolution serves as a public recommitment to serving LGBTQIA+ students in an inclusive, safe, and welcoming environment. Whereas the Monroe County Community School Corporation established the mission of empowering students to maximize their educational success to become productive, responsible global citizens. And whereas the Monroe County Community School Corporation established the core values of engage, empower, educate. And whereas the Monroe County Community School Corporation established empowerment as all students are diverse and unique. When students are empowered, self-esteem grows. All students' experiences and perspectives are assets that reflect the strength of our schools and the value of our community. Such assets, when respected, nurtured, and explored, promote their academic success and the success of their peers. And whereas the Monroe County Community School Corporation supports and celebrates our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning intersex, asexual, and more students. And whereas it is the right of every child, regardless of gender identity, gender expression, or sexual orientation, to access a free public K-12 education, and the Monroe County Community School Corporation welcomes and supports all students. And whereas the Monroe County Community School Corporation acknowledges that many LGBTQIA+ individuals experience high rates of bullying, victimization, and harassment. And whereas Indiana lawmakers have proposed controversial bills during the 2023 legislative session, such as House Bill 1608, that limit discussions on LGBTQIA+ identities and expression in the classroom, require notification to and approval from parents when students request name changes and different pronouns, and allow the refusal of certain teachers to recognize student pronouns. And whereas Indiana lawmakers' attempts to censor conversations about LGBTQIA+ and the required outing of some LGBTQIA+ students further discriminates against and harasses students based on their gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation. And whereas the Monroe County Community School Corporation has a responsibility to ensure that all students, regardless of gender identity, gender expression, it seems strange. And whereas the Monroe County Community School Corporation has a responsibility to ensure that all students, regardless of gender identity, gender expression, or sexual orientation, can safely attend our schools free of prohibited discrimination.
Now therefore be it resolved that the board continues to declare the corporation to be a safe place for students, meaning that the corporation is a place for LGBTQIA+ students to learn, thrive, and seek assistance, information, and support. Be it further resolved that the board strongly opposes any Indiana law or proposed legislation, including 2023 House Bill 1608, that limit the rights of LGBTQIA+ students and put them at greater risk for discrimination or harassment. Be it further resolved that the board hereby directs the Monroe County Community School Corporation Administration to work with members of the LGBTQIA+ community and the MCCSC staff to create a policy that prohibits the bullying and/or harassment of LGBTQIA+ individuals in accordance with the state and federal law, and with review and input required by the applicable collective bargaining agreements.
Thank you, Vice President Hennessy and Board Member Parani. Are there any comments from the board?
I'm really glad to be a part of this. I'm so thankful that we're doing this public display of our values and our reaffirming that public schools are for all children, where all kids should feel, all kids and staff and everyone should feel welcome and accepted and valued and cared for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy. Any other comments from the board?
Just that, it's been an incredibly disheartening and sort of heartbreaking week on so many fronts to see laws being passed, here in our own state, but then nationally as well, that would discriminate against kids and people for just sort of their very existence. And so, I'm really glad that we're doing this. And I heard comments earlier asking, where do we draw our lines and how far do we go? I mean, I can only speak for myself, and we do have restrictions as board members. We our sort of authority to make decisions only go so far. But as someone who's affected by this personally as part of the LGBTQ plus community, I just want our students and our staff to feel supported in their sort of day to day. And so I hope that this is the first step to doing that. I know that we still have a lot of work to do to get there, but we'll do what we can.
Any other comments from the board?
I'd just like to thank board members Prani and Hennessy for initiating this resolution, and to the two people who came out to public comment to support greater protections for the LGBTQIA community. That's a brave thing to do. Thank you.
Yeah, I support everything that was said here. Also, just want to thank those that very quickly turned this around and put this together. So thank you for those that took the time out of their schedule to put this together really quickly. Resolutions we said that this is probably a world record of a resolution turnaround, and thank you for the lawyers as well to taking time to look at that. So thank you again for all those involved, and I'm excited as well to see the next steps as we move forward. Anything else before we?
Well, I do want to just give Dr. Oswald credit because, it was an extraordinarily busy week and this came about really quickly and we had to get this in front of the lawyers within a couple of hours. Yeah. And so he really did rally to help us get this on the table and ensure that it, got to the lawyers in time. So I just want to appreciate your
Thank you.
support.
And most importantly, you gave us the input and the impetus behind doing it, and grace in getting it done. But most importantly, from the whole, as we had conversations with the board members, the focus was on what can we do to show our immediate support, but then also speak to the legislation that is harmful to our students, and what can we do to basically instill in our practices and policies and educational tools, educational components and policies and practices that will seek to eliminate and eradicate discrimination, bullying, and harassment. And I think, as you said, Board Member Hennessy, this is the first step. And so it was worth expediting it so that we could start the process. And I appreciate you guys bringing the request and the patience to allow us to do so in a pretty timely fashion. And of course, to our attorneys, to our legal counsel who worked over the weekend to review it. I know particularly Kate was heavily involved in it, and we're grateful for you to take some things off our plate to allow us to do that for us. It was important to us, and that just shows what an important partner Bunger and Bunger is when they say, yeah, we'll allow that, we'll delay some other things so that this can be, I know in my conversation with Tom, he said, this is a very important and timely conversation, and we'll delay some other things to get this done for you. And we appreciate that, Tom. So thank you.
Great. All those in favor of the motion to adopt resolution 2023-07, recommitment to serving LGBTQIA plus students, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against no, any abstentions? The motion has carried. Next for our consideration is the personnel report. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Ashley that we approve the personnel report as presented, and Dr. Stahlbaum will share that with us tonight.
Thank you, President Scher, Dr. Oswald, and members of the Board of School Trustees. This evening, I would like to recognize 4 certified staff retirements scheduled for the conclusion of the school year included in the personnel recommendations. Dr. Deb Prinkert is retiring as the Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education after serving students staff, and the community at MCCSC since 2003. Julia Bryant is retiring as a teacher at Fairview Elementary School after educating MCCSC students since 2014. Vivian Schroeder is retiring as a teacher at University Elementary School after supporting students since 1992. And Kristen Stewart is retiring as a teacher at Childs Elementary School after educating MCCSC students since 1978. Thank you, retirees, for the many years of service to our corporation, students, and community. This concludes the retirements of the board personnel report. I request that you please approve the personnel report as presented in the board packet.
Do we have any comments from the board?
We'll do some.
Yeah, we'll do some
interactions
interactions
after you
and,
approve, so.
yeah. Do any comments from the board regarding personnel? 1978, is that what you said?
Yeah, and
Okay,
my
I just wanted to
kids,
pause on that for a second.
all 4 of my kids have had that teacher. And so it's not very many teachers because my kids are from the oldest to youngest are 10 years apart. They get to get the joy of having that many
Yeah.
Fuentes roars through their, just kidding. Maybe some were more joyful than others. Nobody's watching, but I wish everybody well, and I know what kind of dedication in just that one person there is. And I hope that everyone else can enjoy this next chapter.
Also, we are so, so sad to lose Dr. Prinkert. And I just want to say that you will be so, so missed.
Absolutely.
I do want to point out the irony and, you know, we've been kind of marching through, for lack of a better word, updates on each of our goals and priorities within our strategic plan. So Dr. Pringer said, you know, it's ironic that tonight you're going to recognize me for my retirement and it's my turn to talk. So she's on for tonight and she said, you know, I really could just blow you off and
Yeah.
not do this. But of course, yeah, you know, she said so. So in return, I think she'll give a shorter presentation.
Any other comments from the board regarding personnel report?
Just made all of that up.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Subblum, for that report. All those in favor of the motion to approve the personnel report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Against, no? Any okay.
Did you just vote twice?
Vote is against you.
Any abstentions? The
Who are you
motion,
again?
the motion has carried.
Retiring.
Dr. Hauser, will you please
I'd be
introduce the
glad
new
to,
administration?
but if you wanted to vote against approving
No,
the
you're just-
retirement notification, we'd be fine with that. I mean, I kind of said no at first too. You know, but of course, Dr. Pringer said, Dr. Hauser, there's some things you can't control. It's my pleasure to introduce to you, as per our tradition, we approve administrators, 5 administrators that are moving into a district and principal roles. So we're just going to kind of go through order here and ask them to come up and real quickly say a word or two. So the first up, I am so pleased to introduce Dr. Dorothy Irwin. She will be serving as the interim assistant superintendent of elementary education. Dr. Irwin has earned her doctorate from Indiana University. She previously has served as an assistant superintendent for elementary education, special programs, including overseeing Title I. She's a wealth of experience. She has been an elementary school principal, elementary school teacher, and she's been consulting with us this year. I know I see her sitting over there with Mitch Bratton, and she's been consulting this year with Clear Creek and really getting to know our community. And so with a lot of other changes and with her experience, I approached her, you know, about this possibility. And so we're just pleased to have her serving in this capacity with her experience. And Dr. Irwin, I'll give the microphone to you. And Dr. Irwin is no stranger to Bloomington, by the way, so it's more of a homecoming.
I am so filled with awe over this board meeting and the people who have come up and spoken, the people who are recognized for their work here. I was fortunate enough to get to work with Dr. Prinkert. I can never pronounce it. So sorry. I've been calling her Deb, so I needed to have practiced her last name. And of course, to work with Dr. Oswald again. But this is an amazing opportunity for me. I didn't think I would ever say yes, but it is very, very exciting. And working with Mitch Bratton and Gina Barrows over at Clear Creek this year has totally pulled me into this district. And tonight, I know that I absolutely made the right decision, and hopefully you all did too. And I want to thank the board and Dr. Oswald for having me. I look forward to it.
Thank you, Dorothea. Next, Dr. Chris Finley, no stranger to even school safety presentations. It's no joke that he sort of is moving into a role in which he's already doing half of it. As you know, we started this conversation and the board realized the importance of school safety, and we began to carve out, and I asked Dr. Finley for just a few extra days in the year and a few extra minutes of each day to work through and be our director of school safety. I now know that is consuming about half of his time, which means that half of his principal jobs have been either done in the evening or on weekends, holidays, or by his assistants. So we're pleased to have been able to post this position and create a director of middle level education and of health and safety. Dr. Finley is currently serving, of course, as principal at Tri-North Middle School. He was previously principal at Childs Elementary School and Marlin Elementary School some time back. I know he earned his doctorate from IU. And the last thing I'll say about Chris is that in one of our community forums in which we were working, considering the past referendum, we had a lot of community people involved. We had a principal from each level. We went through one of those initial icebreaker activities where question number 1 was, were you born in Monroe County? And 2, do you live in Monroe County? And 3, did you go to school ever here? 4, did you graduate? 5, did your kids go here? 6, are you alumni? 7, did you work in Monroe? You know this, right? Well, anyway, you know where I'm going with this. There was about 50 people in the room and only one person checked all the boxes. So I heard people in the room calling him Mr. 1 to 7 because he was all of the things, right? So I can't think of anyone that's a better spokesperson for MCCSE in Monroe County than Chris Finley. So we're really pleased to have Chris moving into a leadership capacity. I know he has a superintendent license and we're just, we welcome him. So Chris, I'll turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Oswald and President Shore, board members. I appreciate the opportunity. Dr. Oswald's come to me numerous times this year with opportunities. I know what that means. We got a lot of work ahead of us and I'm looking forward to that. And
we'll compete after the meeting.
The work that's already taking place in health and safety, that work will continue. And we're doing that with a lot of community partners. And we know that our ultimate goal is to ensure that our students, all of them, have a safe, comfortable learning environment. And so, that's our work and we'll continue to make sure they have a safe, comfortable place to do that. It's an amazing corporation. I'm really honored to serve at this capacity. I've been a principal in this district for about 19 years. So, it's been an honor to serve in that role and I'm looking forward to this next step. And to the Tri-North community, I can't say enough about that school. It's a neat place. It's very special. It's probably the most diverse school community in the district and certainly one of the most influential. It's a neat place, great staff members, great students, great parents. I'm happy that we're turning it over to Taji Gibson. It's going to be in good hands. And
Surprise.
we're looking forward.
That's 2 down on my list.
Here we go.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler alerts. I'm sorry if you're.
Well, I think the only way I would have left that role is if I knew it was in good shape. And I feel like it's headed in a great direction. And I know that great things are ahead for that school as well. So I'm looking forward to getting started.
And thank you, Chris. And I will add that, to the community member that spoke earlier, I know that Dr. Finley will talk to you afterwards. And as I was listening to those concerns and I went back to how we have worked through our strategic plan, I would encourage you to, these are comments for later, but I'm gonna make them now. So look at our December presentation, look at our data, look at what we're doing. I think about the fact we've gone from 2 SROs to 7, doing external audits, we're doing staff audits. I know that I do know sometimes for community events, we'll unlock doors because they're community events and we have lots of access points. But today I went to all the classrooms at Rogers Elementary School today, one of the schools for which you spoke, and visited. And one of the things that was interesting is when I went in, I actually badged in, but we had a new administrative assistant there. And she immediately within 10 minutes went to the principal and said, hey, there's a stranger with a suit in our school. And I talked to her and I said hello, but I was unaware that she didn't realize me. I had my badge and I badged in. So, but that just shows you how seriously we are taking school safety. And, we have more information on our website. And, I just thought of my example from the school from which you spoke. And she said, I thought nobody would dress like you and come and do anything bad. But she said, we got to be careful. And so, I will encourage you to speak to Dr. Finley after the meeting. And I appreciate the additional effort, what you've done for health and safety this year. And I know that we're better off now than where we were, and we continue to move forward. So Chris, congratulations and welcome. Next up, oh my, Dr. Julius Hanks, I'll tell you, he has agreed to come back to MCCSC, a boomerang for MCCSC as a director of staffing and community engagement. And one of the first people I met when I came to Bloomington, he reached out to me. He went out to lunch after we got the date right. I think I might have stood him up the first time, or actually I showed up and you weren't there and I had it wrong on my calendar. But nobody knows our community as well as Julius. And Dr. Hanks earned his doctorate also from IU. You notice a theme here. Most recently, he has been serving as the director of student outreach engagement with the Indiana University School of Education. He's previously worked at MCCSC as a coordinator of diversity opportunities. But in looking at needs and at existing positions, we needed additional director in our staffing. But we also, based upon our board strategic goal, wanted to specifically identify and work towards creating strategies to create a more diverse workforce. That includes attraction practices and policies and retention policies, how we create a pipeline, how we work with students, and all of these things coupled with, again, notice all these titles have an ampersand, also coupled with community outreach. And that's both providing and presenting information to our community as well as listening to our community to make sure that we are lockstep. The community understands the value public education, MCCSC, brings to the community, as well as understanding the needs of the community. So I can't think of a better person to fill this role. I introduce to you Dr. Hanks.
Are we clapping?
Oh, man. No,
I don't know.
clapping.
We're gonna clap at the end for everybody.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know. Did I do okay teeing this up?
You did great.
All right.
You did great. It's really an honor being here, and I won't be too long. But when you meet kids, when you meet young people, and you ask them what you want to do, ask them what kind of change, what kind of impact do they want to make. Ask them what they're passionate about. I'm standing here. It was great talking to my mom, letting her know who was a principal and an administrator in this corporation for many years, and she just said how proud she was of me. And I went to college thinking I was going to be business. My mom said a lot of businesses fail, and I don't like losing money. So I did history, go to law school. People tell you they're so proud of you for doing these things. And I didn't like that. But after I started doing volunteer work as a student athlete and as just a student, I started learning, I love these kids. I love this impact. And when schools came to us, they said, you all have to come back to the schools. The kids love you. That's when I started to get that joy. And in my experience, I've worked in special ed under Mitch Bratton, which was my welcome back. And I've been here before, but I feel that this is a really good time. I see this school district headed in a direction in a strong manner. I just feel like really good things are happening. I've also been a parent. So being a parent, being a student, being a graduate, being a paraprofessional, being a coach, being so many different things. I really thank you all for this opportunity. I look forward to the challenges. I also look forward to the celebrations. Thank you.
And what I agree with you is why be an attorney and have to work on the weekends writing policy when you can work with students and staff in the community to implement those policies and be engaged with students. I think you chose wisely. Mr. Bunger, it's too late. So, all right. We thank both of you. Julius, congratulations and welcome. I do want to, not on our list of hires tonight, but I do want to recognize, I know that Mitch Bratton is here and Mitch has been the director of special education for 2 years. And I know he's working closely with Dr. Irwin this year. And when I met with Mitch about a month ago and we talked about Dr. Irwin possibly filling this role, he said, I can't think of anyone better to come back and work. But I do want to let the record reflect that in November, we had an unexpected resignation of an elementary school principal. And we have a staff at Clear Creek that's had a tremendous amount of turnover, just a tremendous amount. And they needed stability and they needed someone with experience. And so I asked Mitch if he would be willing. He'd never been an elementary school principal. I said, would you be willing to go finish out the year so that we can, that's something that would you be willing to do? And Mitch said, yes. He said, I'll be more than willing to do that. And so of course, then we talked to Dr. Irwin about coming down to Bloomington out of retirement to help. And then about a month ago, Mitch came and met with me and he said, with all due respect, which is always an interesting way to open a paragraph, working with the students directly as a principal at Clear Creek is a lot better than what I'm doing right now as director of special ed. And he said, at the current point in my life, I can't see myself being the director of special ed for the next 20 years. But I can definitely see myself working with students for a long time on a direct basis. And he said, and the staff at Clear Creek Elementary School needs me more than you need. And he said, so I want to stay. So while it's not in here because Mitch is currently serving as principal, I do want to talk about people that are not only loyal, but are servant, that will just say, it's not about the money. It is about having an internal reward and making an external difference. And I look and I see, I know Deb spent most of her time at MCCSC at Clear Creek. I know Dr. Irwin's first reintroduction is at Clear Creek. Maybe all paths lead through Clear Creek, but the reality is Mitch said, this is where I want to be for the time being. And I appreciate that. And I know that Mitch will be difficult to replace, but we're in a better place at Clear Creek because of his leadership. So Mitch, thank you. And he told me he didn't want to talk tonight. So he had the opportunity. So he also told me not to call him out. And Dr. Prinker told me not to announce her retirement. So you see how well I'm listening. So next up, I have two more for those of you who are keeping track of my time. Next up, it is my honor to introduce, even though actually Dr. Finley did, the new principal at Tri-North Middle School, Miss Taji Gibson. If you don't know Taji, she's currently, you should. What have you been doing? How do you not know Taji Gibson? She's currently serving as the assistant principal at Tri-North. She is completing her doctorate at Indiana University. And, she's had her application for a time to serve as a secondary principal. And boy, Dr. Finley is going to be tough to replace, but I think we got a good chance of just moving the bar on up because boy, Miss Gibson is just the right person at the right time. And every time I walk into Tri-North, I had told this story. May I tell a story on you before you speak?
Go ahead.
The first week Miss Gibson was serving this role, she just looked exhausted. She said, I'm going to bed like at 6 p.m. every night. And she said, this is the hardest job I've ever done. And but even then, she's telling me about what we're going to start doing to change the culture, opportunities, and access our students have at Tri-North. So even though she was exhausted, she was focused forward. And then within 2 or 3 weeks, I didn't see any of that. And from that time, every time I come in there, I learned something from my conversation with Ms. Gibson, as I do with most staff. And I knew right then and there, all right, guess what? Taji's in this for the long haul. And she is doubling down on Tri-North. And boy, are we lucky to have her as our next principal. Taji, your turn.
Thank you. I'm going to read off of this because I will go off script and nobody needs to see that tonight. So members of the board, Dr. Oswald, thank you. And I accept the position of Tri-North Middle School. And thank you for creating an opportunity to grow with a fantastic community of teachers and students. And I would like to thank the Tri-North community for allowing me to be a part of your family. Please know I respect and I love every single one of you very much. I do want to thank Chris, your calm presence and your firm presence, your calm presence, everything about you is just amazing. And you're an aspiring leader and I appreciate you. And you are the leader that I aspire to be. So thank you. And I want to thank Ben Jones. He came tonight to support me. And I want to thank my student services peeps, Ashley Howell, Ann Tees, Morgan. Thank you for your support and friendship. I won't let you down. And I want to thank my family. My husband Shane is here, who's been my rock and my confidant, and he doesn't bat an eye at the fact that my student loans are huge. And I want to thank our beautiful boys, Tanner and Sawyer, because they really are big, you guys. Last, I want to thank my mother, who is watching tonight, and at every single turn, she deserves a shout out as a single mother. She instilled in me and my siblings hard work and resilience. And I could not have done this without you, Mom. So thank you. And thank you again for giving me this opportunity. And I am ready to get to work. Thank you.
Thank you. If you weren't sure Taji was the right choice, listen to her speak. And now you know. She also made me cry during your interview. And then after she left, Dr. Winston gave me a hug and we both cried. So I don't know what's going on with all this, but needless to say, next up. Congratulations and welcome, Taji. And last but not least, as you know, Principal Douglas from Summit Elementary School announced her retirement. We've had that posted for a while. And I know with the team of people that interviewed, we are really pleased tonight to introduce Tyler Abel. Mr. Abel is currently the assistant principal at Summit Elementary School. And again, we have great people on our staff. And I know that Tyler is the right choice. I know the staff feels about him the same as the staff feels about Mitch and feels about Taji. And so congratulations, Tyler. And we welcome you as the new principal at Summit Elementary School.
Thank you, Dr. Oswald, President Shore, board members. I too am born and raised in Bloomington. I attended Bloomington South, all MCCSE schools. My kids are here this evening. They attend MCCSE schools. I want to thank my wife and my kids for being here this evening. I am thrilled by this opportunity. What we have at Summit, I truly am proud of. It's a unique place, a large place. If you've not been there, we have a lot of students, but it's a lot of fun. But I am really, really excited about the opportunity and very thankful for it. And I look forward to serving our community at Summit and pushing forward with our board policies and strategies and doing good work. So thank you.
Thank you, Tyler, and welcome.
So
Should we all give one big round of applause now? I mean, I know it.
Also, like you said, Clear Creek is the thread, but like I've worked with almost every single one of these people.
Oh, please.
I'm
Okay,
just
so
saying,
April's the thread.
like, North might be the thread.
Oh, North.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, but
Well, Julius went to North also.
Well, no, I mean, like, I know almost every single. But what I do want to say is that we have such amazing, staff and just all across the board employees at MCCSE. I mean, truly, like, just some of the finest people ever. And so I know that, sometimes we have things that happen, but generally, I will say this district is full of really, really good people. And I'm so proud of all of you and so proud to know all of you and so excited to be working alongside all of you. So I just wanted to say that.
thank you. I'm excited for all the work that you have done. Yeah, there's lots of excitement and for all the work that you guys will be able to do. So hopefully all of you get to celebrate in some version, if it's like ice cream or whatever it is. Please celebrate yourselves, or if those around you, please make sure that whatever it is to celebrate, go ahead and go get that tonight. I hope maybe we'll see you at Chocolate Mousse or Brewster's.
On
or-
President, sure.
Oh, oh yeah.
It's on you.
It's on me? Okay. Yeah.
Although the naming of particular ice cream companies is not an
I know, I
endorsement or
apologize.
favoritization. Priority. I can just wait and get ready to say.
I said two, so.
Oh, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Forget the others.
Now we're gonna move on to, maybe not as exciting, but we're gonna
No,
move on to
not as
contracts. Sorry, Mr. Kenny, I think it's exciting. Do I have a motion to approve the contracts as presented? Do I have a second? Been moved by Kathy and second by Ross that we approve the contracts as presented, and Mr. Kenny will share with those tonight.
Say it with enthusiasm tonight, Mr. Kenny.
Good evening, President Schur, Dr. Oswald, members of the board. There are 6 contracts before you tonight. I recommend approval of the contracts as presented.
Do you have any comments from the board regarding the contracts?
Motion.
All right. All those, did we already did that, yeah. Did we already do the motion for the?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All those in favor of the motion to approve the contracts, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against no, any abstention? Motion is carried. Now for our consideration is the renewal of our transportation incentive. Do I have a motion to approve the transportation incentive as presented? Do I have a second?
Second.
April Ashley, I think.
Okay, it's been moved by April and seconded by Ashley that we approve the transportation incentive as presented, and Mr. Adams is going to share with that.
Mr. Adams.
Mr. Adams.
That's why I got distracted. That's why I didn't realize there was a motion made.
I love it. Thank you so much. Good evening, President Scheer, Dr. Oswald, members of the board. It is recommended the board approve the extension of the previously approved CDL incentive program through the 23-24 school year. This program will continue to assist in greatly helping to attract and retain CDL certificated drivers to the MCCSC. As a reminder to the board, this program offers a $1,000 sign-on bonus for new CDL drivers to be paid in full after the first 2 months of employment. Any active non-administrative employee that refers a CDL driver as part of this program additionally earns a $1,000 referral bonus. This program, originally approved in August of this school year, it's August, wow, it's crazy how time's flying, or time's flowing, excuse me, but has brought in an additional 23 CDL drivers to the MCCSC and continues to be a driving force in recruiting potential employees. That was not intended. I didn't realize that was intended. I cannot seriously underscore how important this has been to the MCCSC. I reflect on this year when we started out, we were vacillating between 65 and 70 drivers for, as you recall, a need of 80, 90 routes. We're now vacillating between 85 and 90 drivers as a result of this, and it's been a significant boom for this corporation.
So to be clear, it has greatly helped us staff at the level we need, not so yet to create excess staff. So we don't want to give any false hope out there. that we can Make changes to our transportation structure. However, it has given us some breathing room and it's been significant. It's worked.
Yes.
So we're going to do it again. Hopefully.
Do we have any comments from the board regarding the transportation incentive? All right. Do you have any, all those in favor of the motion to approve the transportation incentive, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, no. Any abstentions? The motion has carried. Dr. Hoswell, will you introduce tonight's presentation, equity goal number 3, student learning?
Absolutely. I just want to, I know in May, we're going to summarize, and I appreciate the board and the public's just involvement in this, focus and attention on this. This is our 7th in-depth conversation we've had. So of course, tonight is about accelerating learning for students, including our priority populations with accessible and aligned high quality curriculum instruction. And if you think about it, a lot of these other things, which are wraparound, which are support, what does it all lead to? Accelerating learning, reducing the achievement gap. All right. And so this is, we actually had a comment saying, why didn't we talk about this earlier? Why wait till now? Well, the answer is we were serving some benchmark years coming out of the pandemic. Really, we'll talk about this, make some of our data comparisons and trend data very, very difficult. But we at least wanted to have another, some introductions to this year's data. So we intentionally have this in the spring, so we have a little bit more data to work with. However, the data will only continue to grow, and we'll have more comparative data coming out of the pandemic. And that's some conversation we're gonna have today. With that, I turn it over to be soon to be retired Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education, Dr. Prinker.
Thank you, Dr. Oswald, President Schur, and members of the board. I'm happy to be here to talk about student learning. It's a big topic and a very important topic. As he mentioned, the goal is to accelerate learning for students, including our priority populations, and make sure that we have accessible and aligned high-quality curriculum instruction for all. The outcomes, I'll direct your attention to the bottom 2. We're getting kind of a list here as we go through the different goals. But the 2 outcomes that we are aiming for is to accelerate that learning for all students through growth and identify and reduce academic disparities. This you've seen before. This is our educational equity statement, and you've seen this in multiple presentations. So I'll give you just a second or two to kind of read over it again. But again, this isn't new, and we're so grateful for our partnership with the Great Lakes Equity Center. Definitions. We always talk a little bit about some of the definitions. You can't really talk about student learning without talking about curriculum, instruction, and assessment. They're kind of the 3 pillars. And so we have a representation here of a 3-legged stool, because each part of that leg of the stool is holding up that student learning, and it's kind of dependent on each other. So curriculum, of course, is what we want our students to know and be able to do. Those are our academic standards. Instruction is really the role of the teacher in the delivery and different instructional strategies that they utilize to implement that curriculum and content. And of course, assessment is how we know if they know it. And that is very important because it informs what we need to change or do in our instruction. And we may need some remediation. We may need some enrichment. I'm going to dive a little deeper into each of those legs of the stool. So as I mentioned, curriculum is a big one. And what we've done here for you is kind of separated some of the areas from the state that cover curriculum, the district that cover curriculum, and then at the class level, what you might see for curriculum. And you can see from the state, that's where we get our academic content standards. And these are hyperlinked. So this will be available and people can explore those academic standards. We also get employability standards from the Department of Education. The district, we just listed 4, but there are many other ways that we help provide curriculum support for our teachers. One of those is essential learnings. There's so many standards to cover that we kind of highlight some key essential learnings for each grade level. Pacing guides are really important because we know that we have mobility in this corporation. We know that students move from one school to another, and we don't want to have gaps in their learning. So pacing it out, making sure that we're all teaching certain items and certain standards in different quarters or trimesters or semesters, grading periods, let's just say that. And proficiency scales, those are important too. Again, what does it look like to be proficient in the quarterly reporting? And of course, at the classroom level, teachers are dealing with curriculum all the time. They're differentiating their lesson plans. They're looking at success criteria. How do I know if a student has it? And really honing in on that teacher clarity. This next slide is going into the other leg of the stool, which is that instructional piece. And the state is a little sparse, quite honestly, in this area as to instructional strategies. They do have a website, and again, it's hyperlinked for the Indiana Learning Lab, where they do post a lot of professional development, and teachers can go on there and look at some of the PD. As a district, we do a lot of different professional development and instructional strategies. We have instructional coaches that help support the work of our teachers and our teaching and learning expectations that we are constantly recommitting to and talking to our teachers about that. The barometer, I want to highlight the second picture down. That barometer you may or may not have seen before. That's the work of John Hattie. He's done a lot of work in this area. It's a meta-analysis actually that he's done where he's looked at high leverage instructional strategies because he has stated that not all strategies are created equal. Some have a higher impact on student achievement. And if we know that, are we utilizing some of those high leverage strategies that are research-based and evidence-based? So again, we've done quite a bit of PD in that area. Back on November 8th, our PD day, we had a lot of breakout sessions and had several sessions that addressed some of those high leverage strategies. And of course, at the classroom level, again, teachers are differentiating lessons. They're utilizing those high leverage strategies. They're combining technology to make tech enhanced lessons to meet the diverse needs of all learners. And there is teacher autonomy in some of those design of what their lessons look like. They know what they have to cover, and we provide a lot of support. But teachers ultimately design lesson plans to address their student needs. And that third leg is the assessment, as we mentioned before. And there you can see the state weighs in quite a bit, right? There's a lot of different assessments. And again, we've hyperlinked them if you want to read more about some of those assessments. At the district level, you may have heard something called common formative assessments. Sometimes we shorten that and say CFAs, but those help give us information along the way of where our students are at. Common summative assessments are more at the end of a unit or the end of an area of study where we're checking for understanding. And of course, NWA is also a resource that we utilize that we give throughout the year that helps us inform our instruction and correlates to iLearn. And then teachers use a plethora of different assessments to check. Some of it is student work, some of it's unobtrusive. It might just be conversations, right? They check in with their students, they see what they know. And of course, differentiated projects as well. I will point out there's little arrows kind of going to and from, and that's just to show that each of these informs each other's. And so that's just a process, a constant process. So I mentioned those state assessments, and we do have some challenges, and I felt like it was noteworthy to mention some of those. I think Dr. Hoswell pointed out that it's tricky sometimes to have longitudinal data because the Indiana Department of Education changes the standards quite frequently. They have been changed on us, sometimes with not a lot of notice. We get these mandates saying now there's different standards or they've been updated. The vendor of who actually they contract for the test, that changes too. And so that makes a difference. And so looking at longitudinal data can be very tricky because when you have constant changing variables, it's difficult to really compare apples to apples.
If I may summarize just real quick with one sentence. With 15 years of a school reform under single party rule in Indiana, if I may, with the results are not aligning in many ways with the way people would like, and that is, proving that public education isn't working and that school choice is working. We frequently have to change our standards and our data. It makes it difficult to look at longitudinally how public schools are doing. Public schools are doing great, but it also we would be remiss to not point out the fact that because we change our assessments and our standards almost every other year, it's really difficult. And I think that, we wanted testing when we had one group to test, and that was public traditional students. I think now testing is becoming less convenient because when you see things like the fact that our charter school graduation rate is below 50% and, ours is around 90%. I think that data can become inconvenient. And so I just want to point out there's a reason behind why we have so frequent changes in assessments, in my humble opinion.
And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention COVID. That has obviously really impacted our student learning. There's been missed learning opportunities for our students, and we're doing our best to try to fill in gaps and holes and make sure that they have those opportunities. But even just the academic and social emotional toll that it has taken on our students is evident. The stamina, quite frankly, needed by students to complete iLearn, it's long. It's really, really long. And there is a lot of scrolling, both vertical scrolling, horizontal scrolling. Some students are, am I done? I think I might be done. And, teachers have to walk around and try to see if they really are finished, because sometimes they're multi-parts and they have to go back up into the passage and find evidence. So these assessments require a lot of stamina. And then, of course, we know that these tests don't always measure what our students really know and are able to do. But we give them because that's part of what we do, right? And it's what's mandated. So those are some of the challenge we experience. I am going to show you some of the data because I feel like a presentation on student learning. I'm going to show you the next 4 or 5 slides do cover some of that data from iLearn. So here's just some proficiency data. If you look at these little arches, the green and the blue show at and above proficiency. On your left is ELA, about 50%. If you look at the green and the blue that are passing ELA. And math, it's very similar. It's like 50.7 something. So again, very similar in ELA and math. Again, this is grades 3 through 8 combined in all schools, kind of a snapshot in MCCSC. The next slide actually shows a little bit of trend data. Of course, we have 2019. We don't have 2020 because of COVID. And then we pick back up with 2021 and 2022. And the purple bars are the MCCSC data. So you can kind of see where we have fallen. And then the black line, and thanks to Alexis with her graph charting here, helping me get these in here, that it shows the state. So you can see that we are above the state average in MCCSC. We have been pre-pandemic and post-pandemic as well. This next slide talks about our priority populations, because if you'll remember, one of the very first slides I talked about was identifying and reducing academic disparity. So we need to take time, and we do take time and look at this. For this presentation, I've just picked out these priority groups, but we break it down. For example, where it says non-white, we're looking at every single race category there. But for this presentation, and just to make it a little more condensed, I did it with all. And you can see that, again, it's about that 50% pass rate, because this is 2022 and it's ELA. But then you can kind of see some of the green and the blue bars. The SE stands for special education. So our students with disabilities, we're looking at a much lower percentage pass rates. Some of them, it's a very difficult assessment for them to take. Some do take IM assessment, but we're obviously always trying to grow those green and blue bars. And the same thing with ELL, that's our English language learner population, which is about a 19.4 if you look at the green and the blue. And then the bottom row is the free and reduced lunch. And that's about at 26.8 for ELA. The next slide is math. So it's the same kind of snapshot, same picture. Again, we really look at every single breakout priority group, but for this presentation, we've narrowed it just to these. And again, a very similar picture. We're at about 50 point something for math. The non-white is about at 42 if you combine the green and the blue. And when you look at special education, it's 18.3, which is a little bit higher than the ELA was for special education. ELL is quite a bit higher in the area of math than English, because potentially some of the language barriers that might exist with the ELA portion. Because it's at about 31.4, and then free and reduced lunch around 28%.
And I might add, and we'll have more in-depth conversations later. This is just a general overview, but this is, I think, one of the reasons why when we talk about whether it's disparate impact of discipline when we talked about at the beginning, our transportation, and we know that the students that count on transportation, right? It's a greater proportion of those students are on free and reduced lunch. When we look at our discipline data, right? The greatest discrepancy was oftentimes with our based on socioeconomic status. Same for, if you look here with our academic results. So you see why I commend the board and why we're so focused on equity and we're so focused on access and opportunities in the work we do so that we can continue to try to improve the equitable opportunities in the inputs so that many of these more dependent results in these outputs, we can reduce that, if you will, the differences we see as compared to our paid lunch students, for example, or our white students. So you can see why we're doing this, but how this is all related towards moving the district forward as a whole.
Absolutely. And the next slide just shows some high school data. Since all of that iLearn is only grades 3 through 8, I just wanted to point out that our graduation rate, of course, is higher than the state average as well by about 6 percentage points. And then if you look at the right-hand side, that's our SAT. Remember, that's moved now to be taken during the school day. And you can see the purple and kind of orangish color bars. Those are representing the evidence-based reading and math. So it's kind of the English language arts portion. And we're about 18% points higher than the state. And then if you look at the math, we're at about 19.2 percentage points higher than the state. So again, higher than the state in both of those, but we are looking at disaggregated data at the high school level too, all across all priority populations. This,
Quick question. As we're looking at the priority populations, do we cross-reference them as well? As far as
Yes.
blending
Free and-
socioeconomic and
free and reduced
non-white?
and, yep,
Okay.
absolutely. And this next slide, I just wanted to show you, this is Indiana Department of Education's latest kind of dashboard. They call it the GPS, but it's the Graduates Prepared to Succeed. And, you know, they've had InView, they've had Compass, they've had a lot of different dashboards. I only show this and linked it so you, in case you want to check it out. I think it's still a work in progress. And, you know, my personal opinion is I don't know that they have some of the correct metrics on there, quite frankly, but this is what they've got at the moment. And like I said, this is where they've kind of shifted their data to. It used to be Compass, it used to be InView, and now they're putting this data up on the
And
GPS.
what I would
dashboard.
encourage on that is if anyone from our public's watching and they have questions, they've looked at this GPS dashboard, feel free to call at the district office or speak to your principal. We can give you some insights into this. I mean, you know, the irony isn't lost on me that there's a big blank spot there for kindergarten readiness when we're one of 7 states that don't fully fund pre-K. We know when we go back to effect size, one of the largest effect sizes we can have are providing opportunities for students in an early childhood setting to be ready to learn. So it's funny to me that there's no data on that, right? And yet every year the state continues, especially in a year when we have record revenues, to not fully fund early childhood education. We know that all students need at least 1 year, and our students that are on free and reduced lunch need multiple years. So, I mean, it's ironic that, right, that here they've created this fancy dashboard acknowledging that we need kindergarten readiness data, but yet we're not ever having conversations about what solutions are needed for this. So I do have to point that out. And as you can tell, I think the GPS dashboard has room for improvement. We've got better data.
I echo that. The next slide is the whole child. And I know you've seen this representation before, but it's so important. When we talk about student learning, we know that it's more than just the academics. We know that there's social emotional. We know that there's behavioral information that is going into helping and supporting that child and making sure that we have resources in all of these areas. And I do want to point out this whole child data audit, the yellow bar at the bottom there. Dr. Staubbaum has done a great job in completing a whole child data audit this year and really looking at all of our different metrics in the social emotional realm, in the behavioral realm, in the academic realm, and trying to do some correlation to determine, again, what is best supporting our students. This next slide, again, is just kind of showing those different components. And, you know, the behavior really is that diversity goal number 2, which Dr. Winston did a great job last month sharing data about. The social emotional box, that's covering equity goal number 4. So all of these do relate to one another. And I just wanted to kind of point that out. Obviously, the focus of tonight is more the academic there on the left-hand side. And we've already talked about some of those assessments. but just pointing out that our strategic plan is all encompassing. The next slide, I need to just make sure that everybody knows we do have an understanding that these three pillars are critical. You have to have a safe and inclusive learning environment. I believe Dr. Finley mentioned that just a little bit ago, that, you know, that's what we do. We know kids can't learn if they don't feel safe and have that inclusive environment. So that resolution is huge, and thank you guys for your work in that area to help take a step forward in helping our students feel safe and inclusive at school. It's so critically important. Our culturally responsive and sustaining teaching practices, we've done a lot of work in that, but of course there's room for more. There's always training that we're looking for our teachers, for our administrators, for staff. We have equity leadership teams. We've had a summer equity series. We've had Dr. Gloria Ladson Billings. Rafi Hassan has led a lot of work with bias in children's literature. So we've done a lot, but we still have a lot more, right? That's just a constant journey that we're on to make sure all of our teachers, staff feel like they have culturally responsive teaching strategies in their tool belt. And then the intercultural competence. Again, three really big pillars that I felt like needed to be part of the student learning conversation. And the next slide is just making sure that we're empowering our students. You know, we want them to take charge of and ownership of their own learning. So knowledge and information about learning belongs to the students and empowering them. Second, with the teachers and making sure that they know how to take action and that we've armed them with strategies and high leverage instructional strategies. And of course, third, with our families. It's a team effort and working together to support all. And that means that we need to give that timely feedback, make sure that it's intentional and well designed. So next steps. What are we doing to try to accelerate that learning? Of course, we're looking at our data, right? That I jumped, I guess, to the last bullet there, but that's so important that we do disaggregate that data and we do look at those priority populations and that we do have those equity conversations. And then, of course, our literacy foundations. That's been a huge piece. We're learning a lot in the area of research on how students learn to read. You may have heard the terminology science of reading. It's a really big buzzword out there, and there's legislation even floating around, right? But really what it is, it's a body of research about how kids learn to read. And we have started a Literacy Foundations professional development for our teachers, K-8. Every faculty meeting, they're getting a chunk of some of that research about how our brains learn and making sure that we're using best practices in our teaching strategies. So that's been taking place. We've had language comprehension. We're doing a writing segment on PD this here in April, and word recognition as well. So a lot of work is going into that Literacy Foundations piece. Culturally responsive, I already mentioned that. We're doing a lot of professional learning in that area. Every school has equity leadership teams that are also carrying forward that work. Our community partnerships, we're fortunate that we live in Bloomington. We have so many wonderful partnerships. We're able to offer this high dosage tutoring, both during the school day, but also even in our extended day. That's been a neat thing that we've been able to implement this year. So thanks to all of our community partners because they make a difference and we work as a team really well. Increasing math interventions. We're always looking out for new math interventions. And then those data discussions and our PLC framework, of course, making sure that we're asking those 4 critical questions and constantly reviewing data and having conversations. So those are our next steps. The next kind of last portion here of this presentation is always our community comments and concerns and questions. There's quite a few, but a lot of them cover kind of the same area. So I think I can lump some of these together. But that first one, you know, is there a way to integrate gifted program and electives? We do feel like through differentiation, our teachers do differentiate and do address the needs of our learners. I think Dr. Oswald already answered that second one. You know, why was this 7th in line, the student learning?
Not a prioritization, it's simply
yeah.
an goal of having some additional data for this year, especially with the pandemic. So yeah, please don't read any of these, or I mean, if so, then you would assume that, you know, having a diverse staff is our least important, and that's not true at all. There is no priority in the order.
These next 2 are a little bit about that evidence-based literacy instruction and what are we doing. And it also refers to the science of reading. And again, I mentioned that we have made an investment in that, both professional development and resource-wise. We were able to deliver all of our primary grades Orton Gillingham, Hagerty Phonics, and UFly, which is a great University of Florida kind of intervention toolkit that we've been able to give all the teachers those supplemental resources. So again, I do feel like those next two questions talk about that. And as far as contrary methods, you know, I'm not aware of any contrary methods that people are utilizing, but I'm always happy to have conversations because I do feel like we are covering this through our professional development and the resources that we've been able to supplement.
And-
for our
and we might
teachers.
add that there are some that prefer just one package program. I know at MCCSC, as you know, we often supplement and we often have a wider breadth and depth of resources. And I know that we've had some specific inquiries about, you know, I thought, why are you not just doing, you know, this program? But we also know that some of the programs we participate, we do so intentionally because it provides us a much larger volume of materials and resources that are much more diverse. And so we're really working to diversify our resources and our curricula. And so some of the what people call programs are really more just resources that we're purchasing to supplement the work we're doing to make sure that when students are reading books, they're represented and their families are represented in the resources and the examples in our curriculum. And so, again, back to Dr. Prinkers, if you have questions about how we're teaching literacy, the in-depth professional development we provide, and the resources and the programs we're using, please just call her and we'll sit down and have a
Absolutely. And the next slide asks some of those same questions about, you know, aligning with the evidence. And again, we feel like we have taken a lot of steps forward in that direction. And as Dr. Oswald mentioned, you know, there is a difference between curriculum and curricular resources. And we do provide our teachers with those resources that they need and provide that professional development. So again, I believe most of these have been covered throughout the presentation. The next slide, again, this is from staff feedback and talking about making sure that we have that phonics curriculum, making sure that we are following that reading research, which we are. And like I said, they're getting presentations and PD on that every single month this semester. So we're really proud that we have been able to have kind of a comprehensive approach and make sure that we have inclusive, rich literature as well. Not just all phonics and phonemic awareness, but also making sure that we have inclusive literature where students see themselves as well. So I believe that we're to the staff feedback. Here's some of the common themes. We always love seeing the staff feedback, but these are some of the items that kind of rose out of their comments that we saw time and time again, that culturally responsive practices, inclusive curriculum, that early learning intervention, how important it is for our preschool and school readiness, the PLC framework, meeting the needs of all learners, and of course, that intervention enrichment. So important that we have that to offer. And then there's some great little quotes there off to the side, but you'll have access to this presentation and can kind of read through those. So in conclusion, the last slide just has some resources that you're welcome to click on those links. But again, I'm always happy to talk curriculum with anyone. It's exciting, the work that we're doing here in MCCSC, and I appreciate the time you gave us tonight. And I know the next topic, I think, is staff diversity. So that will be coming up in April.
same process. If people have questions, please go online, submit those questions. And I believe Dr. Stahlbaum will be presenting that. I'm not sure about the newly appointed assistant. I've been reminded he doesn't start till July 1. So maybe that's up for debate. So with that, thank you so much. Dr.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the board regarding Equity Goal 3 student learning?
Happy to see it.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Prinkett and Dr. Oswald and the entire cabinet for the presentation tonight. And now we will move on to if the board has any committee reports or comments that they'd like to share this evening.
I attended my first meeting with the RDC. There wasn't anything specific to schools necessarily, but I'm learning a lot. And I think Aaron and I we may tag team the meetings. They didn't seem in love with that idea, so we might have to revisit that.
And that's a redevelopment commission, just for
Sorry.
those.
Yeah.
They want us both.
Well, yeah, there's something about whatever the rule is that says that MCCSC has a seat on the commission. It might explicitly refer to one person.
So did you nominate Board Member Wyatt?
No, I said you could just pretend we're the same person. 'Cause,
Oh.
yeah.
Both Aaron.
I mean,
Board Member Aaron.
No. Yeah, but anyway, we can work that out.
Yeah.
But we're not voting. It's not a
Yeah,
voting
it's not a voting.
position.
Hey,
so-
We can, we
you're
can,
preaching
well,
to the choir.
No,
yeah.
I mean, I used to be there
Stand.
every other time.
Are our meetings more interesting? No, don't answer that. Don't answer that. I'm joking.
It's really statute heavy. I mean, that's the trick for me. That's actually, yeah, I why I stopped practicing law. This.
Boy, Miss,
Us.
well,
Right.
you know. Well,
No,
nobody-
it's interesting, but like I said, there wasn't anything at this past meeting, there wasn't anything necessarily specific to us, but I did promise that we would share information back and forth.
It'll be interesting when you go to the next one if they say, we want the other Aaron. So we'll see.
Well, thank you for sharing and hopefully we can figure something out with
Yeah.
that. Any other comments or committee reports from the board?
Ashley, did you want to say anything about legislation? Okay.
It
Uh,
sucks.
I guess
Well,
I think that it's just really important for everybody to stay on top of it. And I know that it seems like we're always beating the same drum. But at some point, there's a power struggle happening over public education and what makes public education public, and a constant chipping away at that integrity. And just tomorrow alone in the House Education Committee, there's a bill that's going to make it easier for school buildings that our public tax dollars have paid for to get taken over by charter schools for $1, that we will have to give it, for $1. We already have that law in place, but they're trying to make it an even easier
based on capacity level.
based on capacity, and the reverse is not true. So that there's nothing in law that makes charter schools, if they don't fill all the way up, have to give it to the public.
Interestingly, someone proposed an amendment that said, okay, so if a charter school has a public school building and the enrollment declines based on your threshold of 10 or of 60%, so then would the same be true for them? And they said, oh, no. I mean,
But-
it's just the hypocrisy is.
So the other
so-
thing, the other thing that's really bothering me is the HB 1002, which is a new kind of voucher for career tech education. And they're looking at trying to change diplomas now, so that a student would only have to go for 2 years of school and then somehow get workforce training. And so this watering down at a time when economists are saying Indiana's falling behind in how many college grads we have across the state doesn't make any sense at all, and is really concerning to me that it would be a way to channel kids out of school. Because once they go to some internship where you would take your voucher to a business that would do your career training, and then if it doesn't work out for that kid, then they try to come back to high school, and then they'll have fallen behind their peers. And then what happens for those kids?
Well,
So-
in this, and in this bill, the $5,000 scholarship would go to a business. There's no oversight, there's no standards, there's no certified staff member overseeing. You're paying the employer, and there's really no requirements there. So again, they can pay with the student what they want. It's just it's really just an internship with really zero structure, zero oversight. And again, it's back to your point. Every time Indiana's college, we know that students that attend a college, even if they graduate with that, when a student attends college, their earning power over their lifetime is more than $1 million on average. And we talk about outliers, but we know this to be true. And we know that every year Indiana's college participation rate drops. We get something from the higher education board saying we've got to do better. We've got to get more students to go to college. But then in return, right, we create these pathways that we fear are somewhat limiting students' post-high school opportunities, and then moving towards internships, reducing the time we're in high school. So our actions are complete opposite to our stated concerns. And so I do worry the same as you, and really am opposed to many of these bills. Ironically, now we're going to try to reform high school again, and we just reformed it.
Well, yeah, my son's graduating class is the first one in those pathways.
That's
But that, I think the preschool point that you made earlier is really important. And the idea that when you make more over 30,000 or something, you don't get the state preschool, but we're going to give vouchers and expand it by 70%. to families of four that make $220,000 a year to go to a private school that doesn't have to accept all children or even be audited about where our public funding is going. That's my rant for the day.
Thank you. Well, thank you to all the board members for all the comments, and thank you to the board members for all of your work.
I
Uh,
could say,
yeah.
didn't they pass the 21st Century Scholars?
Yay,
Can I,
thank
can
you
I,
for that
can I, can I
positive.
go in a positive
Yes,
direction?
yes, absolutely.
Since I
Please.
said it all sucked.
So they are automatically.
Yeah, they're automatically enrolled now. So that did.
No,
Very good.
that's a positive.
So that we'll end on that positive.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. And finally, Dr. Hazel, do you have any additional information? to share
Oh,
with us
do
today?
I?
No, buckle up, Buttercup.
Just a few things real quickly. I do want to celebrate GEMS. That's our program that stands for Girls in Engineering, Math and Science. We had our 6th annual GEMS event this past Saturday, March 25th. Over 100 students participated in 3 different hands-on activities. They attended a career expo. They watched a career panel discussion. Special thanks to the Sorella Hellman Foundation for organizing this. I know Dr. Winston, Dr. Prinkett, Dr. Stahlbaum, and many people on the school team that worked hard on that. I had the opportunity to be there for the introductory comments and to see some of the activities early in the morning. I know Mr. Stark was there helping to host it, and it's just an amazing activity. And special thanks to all the volunteers as well as all of the employers, those many people from Indiana University, from Catalent, from Baxter that were there that provided a lot of the staff support and the expertise to make it really hands-on. So that was a great event. Robotics, this past weekend, Benford Elementary's 3 robotics teams participated in a state meeting. And we're proud to say that for the first time, all 3 of them qualified for the World's Robotic Championship in Dallas, Texas. We're really proud of them. We want to congratulate them, all the teachers, sponsors, and the students. We've mentioned board district realignment, a reminder that survey stays open until April 10th. We also are required to publicly announce that we do have a resource adoption committee survey. We're beginning the process of adopting a high quality, culturally relevant PK-12 mathematics curriculum. That's our next subject. So in order to ensure adequate representation from all stakeholders, we are seeking parents, guardians, caregivers, community members to participate in a standardized adoption process. And if you're interested, please visit our website to complete the Resource Adoption Committee membership survey. And again, thank you for your consideration and participating in this work. I do want to have a special thanks to Sam and to our staff members who spoke on their LGBTQIA+ concerns, your comments, your advocacy, our promises to continue to support you, work with you, and to do everything in our power to make our school safe and inclusive. And your heartfelt words are deeply appreciated. And so thank you for being here tonight. As you said, Aaron, it takes so much courage to show up and to speak and to advocate. And so I could, and to our students have advocated for anti-racism policy for you. I don't know that when I was in high school, I had that courage. So you're stronger than I am, but your words make a difference. So thank you. Paul, MCEA President Paul Farmer mentioned tonight a Pack the House event Thursday, April 13th. I know that many of our teachers around the state are organizing a day at the Capitol, a day for advocacy. We fully support that. We've had some inquiries already as what that means for us. And so we are working to identify whether or not we can operate our school safely based upon the number of teachers that are going. And so we'll be getting some more information out in the next 2 weeks in regards to that, with the understanding that we always want to have in-person instruction open, but only when it's safe to do so. And so there are the possibilities that we will make a decision to have e-learning and anything we can do to support our teachers and to support public non-charter traditional K-12 education. So Paul, thank you for that. To our new administrators, to all of you, but particularly Tyler and Taji, welcome. We're glad to have you. Well, I guess I'm gonna see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for a really short principals meeting. And we, again, I know, stick around so we can congratulate all of you afterwards. The short part might have been the only exaggeration there. So there's so many great things going on to the board. Thank you for your continued support, the engagement of the community, to our staff members, to our administrators. I can't think of a better place to be. And boy, we're accomplishing a lot, but we're doing so intentionally and with all of our students in mind. And with that, I close my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Hazel, and thank you all that were in attendance and all that are listening online. And just to let you know, our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held on Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. And with that, our meeting comes to a close. Have a good evening.